He's been called the photographer who captured America's soul, but most people don't know his name. He wasn't famous, and he didn't chase the spotlight. He focused on real people, in protests, subways, and overlooked neighborhoods, and showed the country what it often refused to see. If you want to learn how one photographer helped America see itself more clearly, you're in the right place. This is Beyond the Frame. Let's jump in. Bruce Davidson was born on September 5, 1933 in Oak Park, Illinois. Raised by a single mother during World War II, Davidson and his brother grew up learning to cook, clean, and take care of themselves. This early independence shaped how Davidson viewed people, not as subjects, but as individuals with stories worth understanding. As a teenager, he discovered photography through a fascination with color and form. By assisting a local commercial photographer, he was introduced to dye transfer printing, a meticulous process that sharpened his eye for detail. But it wasn't just about technique. Davidson's upbringing in an open-minded household, free from prejudice, gave him the lens through which he would view the world. Human first, always. What transformed him from a curious teen into a global storyteller? That journey started with education and the right mentors. He studied at the Rochester Institute of Technology and later Yale University. There, his thesis capturing the emotions of football players in locker rooms was published in Life magazine. That publication in 1955 essentially launched his professional career. 3 years later, he joined Magnum Photos, the prestigious agency co-founded by Henri Cartier-Bresson. For Davidson, this wasn't just a career move. It was an endorsement from the very people shaping the field of documentary photography, and Magnum gave him plenty of room to dive deep. In 1958, Davidson created one of his first breakthrough series titled The Dwarf. He spent weeks behind the scenes of a traveling circus, photographing Jimmy Armstrong, a dwarf performer. Davidson later said, "He allowed me to enter his life, to show moments of vulnerability and strength. The resulting images are hauntingly intimate, a reflection not of spectacle, but of solitude, humanity, and survival." That same year, Davidson began photographing a group of teenagers in Brooklyn known as the Jokers. The series became Brooklyn Gang, a raw chronicle of disaffected youth in post-war America. He didn't just take pictures, he lived with them. "They let me in," Davidson said. "I wasn't a cop. I wasn't a parent. I was a young man with a camera." This early work set the tone for Davidson's signature style: immersive, respectful, and unflinching. But what happens when a street photographer walks into the front lines of America's most volatile moral crisis? Davidson was about to find out. In 1961, Davidson joined the Freedom Riders in the South and began documenting the civil rights movement. Over 5 years, he followed marches, protests, and daily life in a segregated America. His series, Time of Change, includes iconic moments from the March on Washington to the Selma to Montgomery marches. One of his most haunting images shows a young black protester being violently arrested. The fear and resolve in his eyes says everything. "I wanted to be a witness," Davidson recalled. "I wanted my images to be part of the change." The marches had ended. But what about the lives left behind? Davidson set out to find truth not in protest, but in the forgotten corners of the city. From 1966 to 1968, he spent 2 years documenting life in East Harlem, specifically a single block called East 100th Street. Using a large format camera, he photographed residents in their homes with dignity and patience. These weren't snapshots. These were portraits of strength, survival, and everyday beauty. Davidson visited repeatedly, developing trust. "I was not trying to exploit," he said. "I was trying to understand." The project earned him the first photography grant from the National Endowment for the Arts. It cemented his status as a socially conscious artist. After photographing Harlem's quiet dignity, Davidson descended into a world pulsing with fear, noise, and motion. New York's subway system in the 1980s. In the early 1980s, New York's subway system was chaotic, crumbling, and dangerous. But Davidson saw something else. A pulsing, unfiltered cross-section of the city. Over 4 years, he rode the trains and captured life in motion. People asleep, arguing, embracing, staring blankly. His 1986 book Subway is a masterclass in color photography and human observation. Davidson later reflected, the subway was the last place where all the races and classes mixed. It was a moving theater, a kind of metaphor for the city. Through each of these projects, The Dwarf, Brooklyn Gang, Time of Change, East 100th Street, and Subway, Davidson built a new kind of documentary photography, one rooted in empathy, not spectacle. His philosophy was simple but profound. The purpose of my photography is to explore the life I examine, not to prove a point. That ethos didn't go unnoticed. In 2004, he received the Lucy Award for Outstanding Achievement in Documentary Photography. And then in 2007, the National Arts Club honored him with the Gold Medal for Lifetime Achievement. Then came the Sony World Photography Award in 2011 and the Infinity Award for Lifetime Achievement from the International Center of Photography in 2018. In 2021, he was awarded the Royal Photographic Society's Centenary Medal, proof that his work still speaks to new generations. Davidson's influence is everywhere. Photographers like Mary Ellen Mark and Steve McCurry have cited his immersive approach as foundational. His work taught them, and us, that to photograph someone honestly, you have to first see them fully. Not only that, but decades after they were taken, his images still resonate, not because they're dramatic, but because they are honest. Davidson didn't chase headlines. He stayed in places others overlooked, and by doing so, he created a body of work that forces us to slow down, look closer, and recognize the value in every life. That is the quiet power of his photography, and the reason it still matters.